We're here, top of page Yud Gimel, and we started off already Ois Hey, and we're going to continue a little bit further in Ois. We're going to continue the second paragraph in Ois Hey, page Yud Beis, line 9. And we, after speaking about לדודי לדודי, the Chayes and Elul, the Tkiyas Shofar of Elul as a preparation of Tkiyas Shofar Rosh Hashanah, how it's a level of Tshuva law, etc., etc. He went on to speaking about the second part of Pasuk לדודי לדודי li haroya b'shoshanim, that there are two explanations, two meanings in the word Shoshanim. Shoshanim is from the word roses. Roses has 13 petals that's connected to 13 attributes of mercy. Or Shoshanim from the word Sheshonim, that they are studying, they are learning halachas. So this is the part that he's going to focus on now. These two ideas and how they connect with each other in our Maimon. Line 9, page Yud Beis. The idea behind this is the Isu B'Zohar, it's brought on the Zohar, ala Pasuk, Sheshana ben Achoichim, about on the Pasuk it says in Shir Hashirim, like a rose among thorns. That says, Kein Rayosi ben Abon, so my beloved is amongst the daughters. Mashashani is but laser al in the Sachrava. Just like a rose has 13 petals that encircle it. Uf Knes Yisrael Islat Leiser Michlon Darachim the Sachrlam Kol Sitra, so too Yidden have 13 attributes of mercy that surround it, that encircle it from all sides. It's explained in this in those Mamorim that explain the Maimer of Lidodi of the Alter Rebbe. In the sphere of Malchus itself, which Malchus is known in Kabbalah, which is Knes Yisrael. So when it says that the Shoshana is Knes Yisrael, it's also referring to spheres of Malchus, not just the Yidden down here. So Malchus itself has a level of being Shoshana ben Achoichim, and has a level of being Rayosi, my beloved, amongst the daughters. Says there's the way it's a rose amongst the thorns, and like it is my beloved amongst the daughters. So even though the pasuk seems to compare it like the rose among the thorns, so too is my beloved amongst the daughters, but the Maimer says that these are two different stages, two different levels of Malchus, even though in the simple reading of the Pasuk, they are being compared. The idea of thorns is the opposite of the idea of a Shoshana, of a rose, because they are, it says that they, the Mamorim explain how they block and prevent and they puncture. So in other words, instead of being something that's beautiful, it's something negative, and therefore it symbolizes the idea, the footnote brings down, symbolizes all the different taivas and desires of Nefesh Abamis over here in this world. The idea of a rose only the idea of choichim, the thorns, is only applicable in the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah, because these are negative things. Since they're negative things, they're only applicable in the world where there is a level of ego and yeshus and so on. As opposed to the world of Atzilus, Olam Ha'achdus, the world of unity, where everything is one with Hashem. It's not possible. There's no levels that are in the opposite and going against Hashem. It's not applicable, a matter that is the opposite of a rose. Therefore, what it says, like a rose amongst the thorns, it's referring to the external level of Malchus. This idea of calling an external level of Malchus, that term is a Kabbalah term. That level of Malchus, the level of Malchus, the external level of Malchus, is what descends to the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah. As opposed to my beloved amongst the daughters, Kalas Moshe. This is called also the bride of Moshe, the Kala of Moshe. It says that B'yoim Kaloisoi, when he concluded what it says concerning Moshe Rabbeinu, so that is a level of Kalas Moshe, the level of Moshe, he brought down from the highest, most level to the place of his Kala, to the place of his bride. So it's the idea of Kalas Moshe, a higher level in Malchus. Koyal Pnimis HaMalchus, referring to the inner level of Malchus. It's also explained in the explanations of the Zohar at the beginning from the Middle Rebbe. And so now he's going to connect it with what we spoke about, or what the Maimer talks about, the idea that also is referring to the 13 attributes. As the Rebbe always emphasizes, when there are two explanations in the same word, in the same phrase, in the same pasuk, they're interconnected. So the idea that we're talking over here about Malchus is lower level and Malchus is higher level, these are things, this also has to do with the 13 attributes that fit in together with that. So he says, this is the difference between the 13 attributes of mercy, the way they're revealed in the month of Elul. That's why it says on the entirety of the month of Elul, it says, I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Meaning, it's not just that we have Hashem's beloved revealed to us just from Chai Elul, or our beloved nature of connection with Hashem. That's something only from Chai Elul and on that we were speaking about at the beginning of the Maimer, the great quality and advantage of Chai Elul and on. But the entire month of Elul, we have the level of Haraya B'Sheshanim, the one that is going to pasture, going to graze amongst the roses, and Shoshana Yesh Bat Leiser Alin, top of page Gimel, that a rose has in it 13 petals, corresponding to the 13 attributes of mercy. These are revealed in the month of El. That's why it says, that the Shoshana, the 13-petaled rose, the idea of the 13 attributes of mercy has to do with the entire month of El. Now, we know that there's a whole year round this idea of 13 attributes of mercy. We say it most days in davening. The days that we say Tachnun, we say Hashem, Kel Rachmu Chan, Erech Parav Chesed Mes. So we're talking about the 13 attributes of mercy. So what's the difference in the 13 attributes of mercy in the month of El, to the 13 attributes of mercy that we say in the entire year? It's explained in Likutei Torah about this. The 13 attributes of mercy that's recited the entire year. This is only referring to the life of the body alone. Meaning, what we are asking for Hashem, what we are begging for Hashem, is to give us life, health, monetary things. That's what we are evoking Hashem's mercy on. We're evoking Hashem's mercy to give us our bodily needs. But the 13 attributes of mercy that shine in the month of Elul, this is the mercy and compassion that Hashem has on our soul life. Because the 13 attributes of mercy through the entire year, the revelation down here below is from the 13 petals of the rose, the way it's the lower level of Malchus, the lower level of the rose, the way it's amongst the thorns. The external aspect of Malchus. The external level of Malchus is connected with matters of the body and the life of the body. That's why it's a level of Malchus, the way it descends into the worlds of Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah. Has to do with the physical things, has to do with material things, and so on. As opposed to the 13 attributes of mercy that shine in the month of Elul, they come from the inner level of Malchus. Rayosi bein abonos, my beloved amongst the daughters. We said that's the higher level of Malchus. Shehi bechinas nishmasa legabe chitzonos Malchus. The inner level of Malchus, the level that we say about it, that's my beloved amongst the daughters or amongst the girls, that is like a neshama, that's like a soul in comparison to the external level of Malchus. Therefore comes down the level of mercy from the 13 attributes of mercy of the inner level of Malchus. From that comes down the mercy concerning soul life. So that is the level that shines in El. So now the Rebbe is going to connect this with the idea of Melech Basada, the king in the field. Second paragraph on Yud Gimel, line 18. According to the analogy, the metaphor of the king in the field, the idea of Sada in the Nimshol, in the metaphor, is going on the worlds of Bri, Yitzir, Asiyah, because you're talking about the field. It's going outward, it's going outside. It's not like the world of Atzilus. That Atzilus is like the city of the king, whereas Biyah is something away from the king, dealing with external things. That's like the field. Therefore, since El is a time of the king in the field, you cannot say it's only about the inner level of Malchus and so on. We're dealing with the field. We're dealing with coming out in the field. The field is the Bri Yitzir Asiyah. Moving, it's understood. The revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy in the month of El. That we said in the month of El, it comes down from the inner level of Malchus, the level of Rayosi bein Abonis, the level of my beloved amongst the daughters. Meir Gam b'Malchus Chitzoina. It illuminates and shines and reaches even in the external level of Malchus. Shishana bein Achoichim, the rose amongst the thorns. It affects also to illuminate and to shine in the life of the body. So though we said earlier that the difference between the 13 attributes of mercy in the month of El versus the 13 attributes of mercy during the whole year, that the 13 attributes of mercy in the month of El is the soul life, but that itself needs to reach and touch the neshama as well. Similar to what's explained concerning Rosh Hashanah. There's a lot in this Maimer that's making comparisons between Elul and Rosh Hashanah, the blowing of Shofar of El, the blowing of Shofar of Rosh Hashanah. Though the actual creation of the world, when was the first day of creation? That was the 25th day of Elul. Kabbalah brings down this is only an external union, because to create the physical, for the physical existence to exist, you only have an external union of the spheres, not an internal and pneumistic type of union. But afterwards, when we have Rosh Hashanah, then it becomes an inner type of Amshacha. Then Hashem really wants to be connected with us. So it's not something that now remains aloof from the Yichud Chitzoni, but this Yichud Pnimi impacts the Chitzonius. The fact that Hashem has this inner connection with us impacts our Chayis and our world. So then the life force and vitality of this world is added in a much higher way, until a way that's totally incomparable, even over the life force and vitality of the world, the way it was created on the 25th of El. But Rosh Hashanah Beruchni called in Yoni Abriya, just like on Rosh Hashanah and spiritual. All matters of the creation are affected. How is that? Why was all the spiritual things took place on Rosh Hashanah on matters of creation? Through it saying that let us come and bow down and kneel before Hashem, our Maker. Moving. So it's understood. It's not just that Adam Rishon brought a spiritual feeling to the creation, brought all the animals to bow down to Hashem, brought a recognition of Hashem, and it only remained something the spiritual realms. It also impacted the physical as well. So just like it also changes the physical as well, what took place on Rosh Hashanah the first time around, and so to every Rosh Hashanah, that the spiritual bond and connection takes place on Rosh Hashanah, impacts the physical world as well. The same way, similar to this, also concerning the 13 attributes of mercy that shine in the month of Elul. Though it's the level of the 13 attributes of mercy of my beloved amongst the daughters, that's a level that's higher than the rose amongst thorns, like we said before. Still in all, it doesn't remain removed from the world. It doesn't remain, the king is not outside the field, he's in the field. They're drawn down, the effect also in the rose amongst the thorns. The idea of the thorns go in general concerning the body. That the body is externally seems to be, in its physical material makeup, it looks like the bodies of the nations of the world. And that body that seems to be like bodies of the nations of the world, like the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, in there we have the impact of the elikus, of the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy that has to do with the chayis of the neshama. Ois Vav, line 13. By Rabbi Shanim, another idea is the idea of the 13 attributes of mercy that shine in the month of El, like the first explanation in Haroya B'Shanim, that it's going on the 13 attributes of mercy. The 13 attributes of mercy are called adornments, jewelry, things that are beautifying. Like it's brought down Mamar Chassidus from the writings of Arizal, Inyan Esreim v'Arba Kishute Kalosh b'Chodesh El, about the 24 jewelry, items of jewelry that the Kala wears, that has to do with the month of Elul. It says that Talmid Chachamim have to have knowledge of all the 24 books of the Torah. It's like Kishutim, it's like the jewelry, etc. So he says, what does it mean in the spiritual sense that we just now explained? That the 13 attributes of mercy shine in the month of El. What does it have to do with the concept of jewelry? So he says in line 18, when it comes to jewelry and adornments, there is a great quality over garments. Both of them are things that are external, that a person dresses themselves on, and yet jewelry is more expensive, jewelry touches a person more, jewelry is something that he connects with more, Chassidus says. Like it's explained in the Rambam of Tefillin, that tefillin is called jewelry, it's called a crown, etc. What's the idea behind it? So we see, just like a crown obviously is more valuable than just regular clothes, and just like jewelry is more valuable than regular clothes, the same thing, there is something very significant and special by calling these 13 attributes of mercy that shine in the month of El, we call them jewelry. So he says in line 21, the idea behind this is, just like in the metaphor of using jewelry, that jewelry adds to the beauty and to the attractiveness of the kala of the bride. And it's not just an external attractiveness, but this jewelry evokes and reveals the innate, essential beauty that the kala has, regardless of the jewelry. But the jewelry brings that to the fore. The jewelry draws attention and draws it out. In a similar vein is the effect of the adornments that's happens through the 13 attributes of mercy in the month of El, B'chol Inyani B'nei B'nei Yisrael, in all matters of Jewish men and Jewish sons and daughters. Shafilum lefi erech hamid of achzirenu b'shuv shleima lefanecha einam adayim b'mayim d'matzah d'yifei toyer v'yifei marem. Even if comparative to what we said earlier in the Maimer about returning you to complete tshuva, and it's lefanecha to your pnimius, we still haven't yet reached the idea of the spiritual beautiful of face and beautiful of limbs, like it's explained that this talks about obviously the inner beauty of Torah mitzvahs, the way it's supposed to be in this level of still in all, through the 13 attributes of mercy, it's added into them the beauty and the favor and the attractiveness through the 13 attributes of mercy that are called jewelry and adornments. Valpiza moving according to this understood. Also that which becomes revealed by them in the level of the inner part of the heart. That it says about it, search out my inner level. Until the most inner of inner levels. There becomes a vessel for the face of Hashem, for the innermost level of Hashem. So that's the idea of the 13 attributes of mercy that bring out and extract and manifest the inner essential being of a Yid. So the 13 attributes of mercy bring that out. This was all an explanation on the meaning of Aroy B'Sheshanim, the idea of roses having to do with the 13 attributes of mercy and the two types of levels and so on. Now we're going to talk about the other idea of Sheshanim from the word Sheshonim that they are studying. Any questions? Oy Zayin, line 6, page Tezvav. So too, it's in the second explanation in the phrase, the one that goes into pasture amongst the roses, Sheshonim b'halachas, that don't read it Shoshana, but read it Sheshonim, that they are studying, they are reviewing, they are repeating halachas, hilchas HaTorah, the laws of the Torah. The Hinik, see what it says in the pasuk, Chachmas Adam Torah Panav, the wisdom of a person illuminates his face. And similar to this is also in the supernal man in the Eibishter, so that the ray of his face should come down in a way that's revealed that by the light of the face of the king we live. That's the inner life that comes down from Hashem. Inyan apnimis v'achai is the innermost being, the life force and vitality. The way and the service in this is learning, studying halachas is the means, is the channel to manifest it and reveal it down here. Through that we draw down all these matters, beginning from those matters that are connected with the life force of the soul that we said before is the primary idea of the 13 attributes in the month of Elul. And afterwards it comes down also in the life force of the body, like we said before. That is the culmination and the ultimate manifestation that from the life of the soul of the 13 attributes of mercy, it also impacts the life of the body. And then the Rebbe continues that this is not just idea of Torah study, but also tzedakah, oisches, line 16. If we get to add, the idea of the drawing down of the life force and vitality of Chayel is also connected with the idea of tzedakah, like it's explained in the Torah in the continuation of the first Maimer of Anila Doidi V'Doidi Li. That tzedakah is the external and the vessel for the level of the light of the face of Havaya. The face of Havaya needs to have a vessel, needs to have something external that can grab on, just like a fire needs to have a wick and needs to have oil. The same thing that tzedakah is a vehicle, is a wick, is a keli that contains and holds on to this amshacha that comes from above. Line 20 in the brackets, you do it like it's known Shaidei, Tzedakah and Nasas, Hamshach, B'chinas Malchus, Achzoinis, through Tzedakah, we draw down into the external level of Malchus, which we were talking about before, is the ultimate thing from the Chaya and the Neshama should come down to Chaya, go off the external part of Malchus. Ad Sukkos David on the fella, still the level of Malchus, the way it's called, Malchus is called Sukkos David, the shelter of David, but there's a level of the shelter of David, the way it fell. That's Malchus, where it comes down very low, Ba'olam Hasi, in the world of, in our world, Ad Lo'olam Hazeh Agashmi, to this physical world. Because the idea of tzedakah is Hashem acts midah keneged midah, quid pro quo. Since you gave life to the soul of a poor person, I will do so as the same for you that's considered poor in comparison to Hashem. Since the midah of Hashem is measure for measure, top of page design, but it's measure for measure, but not exact. But by Hashem, it's many times as much as what we do. Through the tzedakah that we give, Hashem gives us life and vitality in the avoid of the month of El, Bechlal in general. And especially in the avoid of Chayel, until we actually draw down that life and we bring out that life in a revealed way, like the expression of Gemara, the one who gives life to the living, he will give you life. So we see that the life is brought down in a revealed and living way down here. Ois Tes, page Tezai. This is what it says. I am to my beloved is to me, the one that goes to graze amongst the roses. Shizel Klolos in Yonin Shal Kodesh El. That's a general idea of the month of Elul. Shaboy, Rashoim, V'yecholim, Kol Mi Sheroitzel, Hagbler, Upon Vizbarach, Basad. Then in Elul, we are permitted and we are able to, we have the capabilities, whoever wants to greet the face of the king in the field. For this, we need to make the vessels for it. The vessels that hold on to this revelation of the king in the field, the vessels that make that connection, that bond solid between us and the Eibishter that begins from davening. Davening is us reaching from Hashem, from below to above. That's the idea of I'm to my beloved, going from below to above, I'm reaching to Hashem. That's also the simple idea of the 13 attributes of mercy. The one that's grazing amongst the roses. That a rose has 13 petals corresponding to the 13 attributes of mercy. It says that the 13 attributes of mercy was actually Hashem's tefillah, that Hashem showed Moshe that he became wrapped up in a talus like someone davening for the Abed. And he taught him the 13 attributes of mercy. So we see that this is the idea of tefillah, the idea of the 13 attributes of mercy. So that's another connection of davening to the avoid of Anil Doidi V'Doidi, because the 13 attributes of mercy is associated with the idea of davening. From the fact that Hashem dressed himself in a talus and taught Moshe Rabbeinu about the recitation of the 13 attributes of mercy in davening, from this evolved from that Yidden mention it during davening, b'chol eis mitzoy, at any available time, and we affect through saying the 13 attributes of mercy everything we have to affect. By days in Nasagam through this also comes about the idea of my beloved is to me. That's what's being drawn down from Hashem in our study of halachas, in our repeating and saying over the Torah, Inyan Torah, which is Malmailo Lamata. Anila Doidi is davening from below to above. Torah is Minashamayim Dibarti and Hashem reveals himself to us. But still, even in such a way, we want to have, it should be the service of a person. Shouldn't heaven forbid be in a way of bread of shame. So we still have to do the work, even though the Torah is coming from above. Until this revelation of the 13 attributes, and Hashem's bond with us comes down even to the lowest level, down here below, through the idea of tzedakah. Like the pasuk says about Avram Avinu, Yitzhav's Bonavas Beis Achrav Lasses tzedakah, that he commands his children and his household after him to do tzedakah, inyanat tzedakah, the idea of tzedakah. Mishpat, it says that he told that Avram Avinu did tzedakah and mishpat, he's commanding his children. Hilchos HaTorah. It's going on the halachas of the Torah. How do we see that mishpat goes on the halachas of the Torah? Kisargume ala pasuk mishpat harishon. Like there's a translation of the on the pasuk that says like the first mishpat ki hilchos hakad ma'aser, like the earlier halacha. So we see that mishpat goes on halacha. So we see that Avram Avinu and so to Klal Yisrael that follows in the ways of Avram has the two things of tzedakah and mishpat. By days of Mamshichim, through this we draw down a written and sealed good year for a good and sweet year. Like it's brought down Maril beginning from the first day of the month of El, we mentioned the idea of how much more so from the 18th of El, because El draws down, reveals life force and vitality in all matters of El. So then also in the body of the thing comes down also the soul and the intention of the thing. We draw down to every single man and woman to a sweet year and a good year, in a visible and revealed good, both materially and spiritually, for him and his household in all of his matters, until the innermost point of it. What's the innermost point? To fulfill the desires of the heart of every single man and woman for good. Should be the complete and total and true redemption. Speedily, through the grand shofar being blown. Those that are lost in the land of Ashur and those that are far flung in the land of Mitzrayim will come and bow down to Hashem and the holy mountain Yerushalayim speedily in our day.